we can't keep avoiding it. We've got to talk about Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree being here when it's not a new game, it's a DLC expansion. Like what has happened to the Game Awards?
Okay, so are we good now? Because
I think,
I think I've been doing a pretty good job playing pretty close to the chest.
yeah, I think you can just let loose, man.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. What in the hell? This is. I mean, we've been saying for a while that okay, maybe DLC needs a category or something. I've heard a lot of people say that, and it's not a recent thing.
No.
Well, here they are. DLC just breaking into the main category. I don't like it, Randy. I don't like it at all. I'll tell you what it does. Since you asked, Randy, when you can just enter a DLC into the Game of the Year category, it devalues the incentive, or it almost unincentivizes just getting your damn game right the first time. And I'm not trying to say that Elden Ring didn't, because it won Game of the Year, right? But there's a lot of games, like Cyberpunk comes to mind, okay? Mm-hmm. Everybody says that Phantom Liberty is like amazing, and it's the definitive version of Cyberpunk that you should play. But when Cyberpunk came out, everybody agreed that it was horseshit. So,
right.
What if they drop another banger DLC and all of a sudden Cyberpunk is getting Game of the Year? That's insane.
Well, yeah. So I think
it's a slippery slope. That's what it is, Gampaw.
Okay. I mean, like, one, I know that this, like, on principle, it feels weird. It just feels off for a DLC to be in Game of the Year when Elden Ring is a game that came out 2 years ago. Like, that is just weird, right? But that being said, I do think there is something to be said that this is voted on by a jury pool, and they're like, okay, what was the best game that I played this year? And they think of it and they're like, to be honest, one of the best games I played this year just happened to be this DLC, which did come out this year. So, I mean, I am a little bit playing devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, yes, it's a DLC, and I think it should have its own category. Like, there should be a dedicated category for DLC, but there kind of already is. There's that best ongoing game, right?
Yes.
And that went last year to Cyberpunk because of Phantom Liberty.
Right.
Right. So you would have expected this to be there, but it's not. Instead, it's here in Game of the Year. And it's like, well, I don't know. It's like, is this a one-off freak kind of thing? Like, this DLC is so good that it deserves to be up there with the other games that came out this year? It's like, is it that big of a deal that it kind of has to be here? I just don't know.
I just think it devalues the games that did come out this year. They're saying Silent Hill Remake, which came out this year, just doesn't deserve a nod over a game, or there I go, a game, over an add-on, an expansion, a DLC to a 2-year-old game. It's just not a good message.
It's 40 hours long, dude.
But Elden Ring already had its moment. Elden Ring, and not only did it have a moment, it won. Okay, not only did it have a great year, it won the award.
Yeah, I know, and I I understand. Like, I agree that I think DLCs and expansions should not be eligible for Game of the Year. But at the same time, I was thinking about it, and I was like, how much does it matter that the game came out this year? Like, because in my mind, the idea of Game of the Year is like, what was the game of the year? It was kind of like Song of the Summer. Like, what was the game of the year? What was everyone playing? What was everyone talking about? What is going to be remembered about 2024? What game is it going to be? Yeah. I feel like that at the end of the day, that's the essence of what Game of the Year means. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if the game came out and it was, say the game came out in the end of 2023, but didn't get really hot until 2024, and it blew up, and it became that literally everyone played. Does it need to be disqualified because it didn't technically come out this year? Or, that's kind of how I feel about DLCs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if we're gonna make an exception this time, and that's the approach we want to take, then we need to stop calling them the 2024 Game Awards and call them the Cumulative Game Awards, and give the Best Game of the Year award to Chrono Trigger every freaking year. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, yeah.
This is meant, the awards should be highlighting games and achievement in games and the creation of games that happened the year that the award show is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
If we're giving if we want to have a lifetime achievement award at the Game Awards, like Willie Nelson's lifetime achievement award for the CMAs, then I'm cool with that. You know, you want to call it, I mean, Jeff probably will call it the Hideo Kojima Lifetime Achievement Award, and we can give it to FromSoft and the Elden Ring team. That's fine. You know?
Right. I mean, so we got some comments here. Laminator says the need to have a best DLC or expansive content category. Like, have that DLC expansion. I would include DLC expansions and remasters.
Yeah,
I think those three. I don't know that I would include remakes. I feel like remakes are maybe a little bit different, but like what the difference in a remaster and remake, there's such an interesting, it's so fuzzy. And there's like Silent Hill 2, like we just got, that is to me a remake, and they've changed a good bit about it. But now you have like The Last of Us Part 1, which was also technically, they rebuilt it, they remade it, but it's the exact same game. Like they've changed nothing about it really. So like to me, that is almost more of a remaster than a remake.
I think if you're gonna include remasters in the, ongoing or the DLC expansion category, whatever, I don't think you're gonna be able to draw the line between remasters and remakes, because then we're gonna get into a discussion just like this, like, oh shoot, does Last of Us Part 1 deserve to be here? We're gonna be having the same talk again.
Right. Well, maybe we don't include it. Maybe it's just DLCs and expansions.
Yeah.
But like, that gets us into an interesting conversation that one of our comments later on addresses about, like, say we do create a category that's just best DLC, best expansion. Can we jump to that comment? Is that possible?
Yes. Let's see. Is that the first or second comment?
Second one from Bohunk.
Yep. Here we go. Bohunk said, I feel having them be just eligible for the best DLC category devalues the work that actually went into them. And that is the opposite side of the argument from what I've been saying.
Yeah, like, because if it's a best DLC, that's, it's kind of like best fighting game. It's not, people get pissed because fighting games never get nominated for Game of the Year because they have their own like category. There's best racing and sports games. You're not really going to see those in Game of the Year because they have their own category. So in a way, it kind of, I think it does devalue it if it's like, oh, no, it's a DLC. It can't be Game of the Year. It can be best DLC, but that's it.
Yeah. And I understand that because obviously there's a million hours of work that went into Shadow of the Erdtree. Like, I get that. It's obviously high budget. It's obviously high quality. But if they wanted this DLC content to be in their game so that it could be nominated for Game of the Year, they should have put it there. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to take away from how good the DLC is. It's just, it's a DLC, not a sequel. If it's a sequel, fair enough, but they're not calling it that. So,
well, and it's not even a standalone DLC. Like, I would almost be a little bit more, like, I know I've been playing devil's advocate, saying, kind of arguing for it being here, but truthfully, I don't think it should be here. If it was a standalone DLC, I might feel a little more comfortable, but it's not. You gotta, if you try to go buy the game, you can't go look for Shadow of the Erdtree on Steam. It ain't there.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have Elden Ring, then you can get Shadow of the Erdtree. Not only that, you have to play all the way through Elden Ring before you can even play Shadow of the Erdtree. So it's not, you can't just jump into it and play it. You really do. It is deeply, deeply, deeply connected to Elden Ring in a way that I think makes it so that it is so deeply tied to a 2-year-old game that at the end of the day, I don't think this game should have been there.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I also do not think it should be here. But I hadn't thought about the fact that you can't just jump in and play it, but you're right. You've got to have already sunk potentially hundreds of hours into another game before you can even play this damn game. This is a travesty.
Yeah.
And we have a live comment from Laninator who says, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat time. Jeffrey makes it a point to create a controversy every year for the Game of the Year awards to attract attention to it.
What
do you think about that?
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that is a fact.
Same.
I mean, what's crazy is that like it started a couple days before the announcement was made, because a couple days before they updated the website of the Game Awards to have a frequently asked question, or like and the question was, are DLCs and expansions eligible for Game of the Year? And it was like, yes, they are eligible. And everyone was like, wait, hold on. That means for sure you just went ahead and told us Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be nominated for Game of the Year. We all know it is happening. And then it happened and we're like, yep, okay, there it is. And the conspiracy, like the controversy was started early and it was started strong.
Right. I mean, Jeff Keighley ain't no fool. Okay, nobody that leaves the house in as fly a kicks as he does is a fool.
That's true.
Okay, the man knows how to attract attention. The man knows how to create a memeable moment, and he knows how to get some eyes on his stuff. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily crazy, Laninator. You may just be onto something.
Yeah. Well, moving on, when that happened, when that stuff got leaked, I instantly put out a poll asking, should DLC/expansions be eligible to win Game of the Year? I knew what game was coming up, so I went ahead and I included Shadow of the Erdtree as the picture because we all knew exactly what it was going to be. Yeah. And 18% of people said yes, but 82, huge majority of people said, nope, no way, shouldn't be there.
Yeah, 82% of people got this right. I'm just saying. I'm done trying to be unbiased here. This is just, it's weird, and I don't like it. And I don't know. Do you think Jeff will mention it at the Game Awards? Do you think he'll say anything?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I hope he does, but I kind of don't think he will. I think he's just going to kind of brush over it.
I think you're right.
I think he's not. I think he's going to pretend like nothing's wrong so that, again, the conversation after continues. Being like, he didn't even say a word about it. Like, they didn't even address the fact. They're
doubling down.
Yep. But, it's like, I kind of argue both sides here. I know that probably I want to have both sides of the argument out there. Sure. I don't want to be represented like we're just beating up on Shadow of the Erdtree and those who want it to be there. Because I know there are a lot of people who do think it deserves to be Game of the Year. They do feel like it was the best thing that came out this year. And it's not just people who played it. It was the #1 rated game or, gaming release that came out this year. If you look at, Metacritic, OpenCritic, you're going to see Shadow of the Erdtree is #1 of the year.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I am not trying to say that Shadow of the Erdtree wasn't the best thing that came out this year. It very well may have been. I didn't play it, but it very well may have been. And I think that's a valid opinion for anybody to have. But I do think the conversation is not what was the best thing you played this year. The conversation is best game of 2024. And so the fact that it is a DLC, and like you said, not even a standalone DLC, in my opinion, is a disqualifying, piece of criteria here. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm sure it's great, honestly. It has to be great, or this many people wouldn't say it's great.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, we have a comment here. This one is from, let's see here. I accidentally zoomed in.
This is from Havoc M. You need me to read it
for
you, Randy?
No, I got it. I finally zoomed in and found it. Havoc M says, even though Shadow of the Erdtree is better than a majority of the games released this year, expansions deserve to be recognized in their own category, and Game of the Year should only be given to new games. My feelings also apply to remakes like Final Fantasy VII, Silent Hill 2, and Resident Evil 4 remake last year.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about that before. Should remakes and remasters at least get their own category? I mean, that's been a discussion for a number of years now. And do you think the fear of like just pulling the trigger and being like, okay, remake, remasters, it's a category. Do you think the fear is like, what if none of them come out?
Yeah, I do feel like there's going to be years when not now. We know that all we get is remakes and remasters now. I feel like you could make a category that was remakes and remasters, and you know, it would have most of the games that would be on this Game of the Year list. I mean, you can go ahead and look. In this year, it was only Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was the only game that would have been considered a remake / remaster.
Yeah.
But still, I think they would be there. I think we would have enough to fill up a 6-game category easily now. But
yeah.
I think the DLC one would be the one that I think would be the more of the fear of there not being big enough DLC expansions to fill out a 6-game category.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would have to be 6 games, but it would be weird if it was only 1. So,
yeah. I mean, but there's so many games that get DLCs every year. I just think it might bring some attention to games that maybe weren't as big. You know, like we'd have, not that it wasn't a big game, but like Alan Wake got a couple DLCs this year that I think people were pretty hot on. I wasn't personally, but a lot of people really liked them. And so I think there are other games, I'm sure, you know, that put out a DLC. Wasn't there a that was a re-release. Never mind. I was thinking there was some Xenoblade, but there was Xenoblade Chronicles X got released. I was thinking that maybe there was some DLC, but it was just that game from the Wii U that got released.
Right. You know, it might also, if there was a DLC category, it might also maybe shine some attention on some more indies too. You know, like for instance, Vampire Survivors would be back.
Totally.
You know, so that's pretty cool.
Heck, even Balatro got some DLC this year. You know, so I mean, I don't know that it'd be eligible, but that would create some interesting conversations for sure.
It would. It definitely would.
Yeah.
All right.
So Shadow of the Erdtree would probably win it. We got one. Let's read this comment from Brody here. Brody says, like I said previously, I'm voting for Shadow of the Erdtree to be Game of the Year. But even if it doesn't win, the fact that it has controlled the conversation means it is already spiritually won. There you go. That's what we're talking about, where it's like, it really is, it's taken a heel turn. I'm telling you, it has.
I disagree with you, Brody. It has not spiritually won. It has literally won, because Elden Ring was Game of the Year 2 years ago. It has already won.
How big of a controversy is it? This
is like a senior in high school winning a state championship and then coming back 2 years later to play on the high school baseball team again. That's what this is like. Okay, it's sad and it shouldn't be encouraged.
Oh my gosh, that kind of is how it feels, isn't it?
Yeah, it graduated already. Go live your damn life. You know, you've already had your moment. Don't peak in high school, Elden Ring.
If they had wanted it to be, you know, available to be nominated for Game of the Year, they should have just called it Elden Ring 2.
There you go.